and ABC Northern Tasmania. I'm Helen Shield. A gentleman pirate in fancy clothes, pairing up with Blackbeard and facing off against the Navy. It all happens on a show called Our Flag Means Death.
You know how hard it is to find someone doing something original out here?
Do these outfits maybe feel like an error in judgment? Or...
It's a power move. Make people feel underdressed and suddenly you're the one in charge.
You're a lunatic and I like it.
We're swashbuckling. We're looting. Let's have fun with it.
But how much of it really did happen? Might be more than you would have expected, minus the New Zealand accents. Dr. Terry Goldsworthy is an Associate Professor of Criminology at Bond University, and he's written Gentlemen Pirates, Shipwrecks and Stede Bonnet, What Our Flag Means Death Gets Right about the Golden Age of Piracy. Hello, Terry.
Yeah, hi, Helen. How are you?
I'm well. I did not know there really was a bumbling gentleman pirate called Stede Bonnet.
Yeah, I didn't either, actually, till I saw the show and then someone wanted to do a bit of research on it. Then I had a look into it and realised how close it was to the actual historical version of the actual man himself.
Maybe minus some of the comedy and romance?
Yeah, look, I mean, it's an absurd comedy, action-type genre. So, I mean, there's some, creative license being taken with the storyline. Obviously, like, for instance, there's no historical record of any relationship between Blackbeard and Stede. But look, those things have been added in for entertainment value, but the basic backbone of the story is relatively accurate.
When is it set?
Look, it's set in what we call the Golden Age of Piracy. So that is generally at the start of the 18th century and concluded around 1730. So they call that the Golden Age because there's an increase in pirate attacks, etc., in various parts of the world, most notable off the coast of the Americas and Africa. So, when you're going through the historical range of piracy, that's referred to as the Golden Age. And, of course, piracy has been around for many, many years. Julius Caesar was actually captured by pirates and ransomed and later went back and wiped them out. So they've been around for some time.
I wonder what pirates looked like around the Julius Caesar era.
Yeah, well, they were Sicilian pirates. They were called Sicilian pirates. And, look, they were treated as a threat to Rome at that stage, who was engaging in some mercantile activity in the Mediterranean. And Pompey, Caesar's great rival, actually did a campaign over about 10 years and basically eradicated every pirate out of the Mediterranean Ocean so that Rome could conduct its commerce through there.
And then fast forward to the Golden Age of Piracy and this figure, Stede Bonnet. What is recorded about him?
Well, we know that he was a plantation owner in Barbados and part of the gentry. Was relatively successful, was married, was a major in the local militia there, etc. And then for some unknown reason in 1717, he decided that that life was no longer for him, and he purchased a small sailing vessel that carried 10 guns, gathered himself a crew and decided to embark on a career of piracy. And he was unique in some regards that he actually paid his crew when he hired them, whereas most pirates in the day relied on volunteers who would profit from a share of the booty being paid out after they'd seized it, yes.
And where did he commit his piracy?
Look, he was off the Virginia Capes on America there, north of Virginia, etc., and those kind of places. He also ventured down back to the Bahamas and around there. So it was actually, it's not exact in the detail, but going back to the Bahamas is where he had his meeting with the person called Edward Teach, who is now known famously somewhat in history as Blackbeard. And they did form some kind of relationship, more so to the advantage of Teach than Bonnet. And, eventually they fell out and didn't come across each other again, but they died within months of each other.
You say eventually they fell out. How long did that relationship between the two of them carry on?
Look, it was only a matter of less than a year in reality. But in that time, Blackbeard had basically assumed command of Bonnet's ship and his crew and basically kept him almost like under house arrest. For a period of time. There was some suggestion Bonnet was injured in a conflict with a Spanish man-of-war, which is a fighting ship, though the records don't make any mention of that. And he was recovering from wounds when Blackbeard offered to kindly help look after his crew and ship, and took that offer a bit further than Bonnet would have liked.
So you don't believe they were plundering together as a team? You think it was Blackbeard dominating him?
Yeah, look, the accounts of the time in the papers that were written at the time, newspapers, suggest that Bonnet was just an observer on the sidelines in the actions that took place, and that Blackbeard was the main player. That changed when Blackbeard dumped most of Bonnet's crew and took off, and Bonnet gathered a number of ships to him, and then went back onto the life of piracy. And this was after he'd actually obtained a pardon from the local governor for both himself and Blackbeard. He rather made a silly decision to go back to piracy, and eventually was in a fight with the Navy there, or the local militia Navy, defeated and captured.
Dr. Terry Goldsworthy with you on ABC Radio Hobart and ABC Northern Tasmania. He's an Associate Professor of Criminology at Bond University who's looked into just how much Our Flag Means Death on Binge, on the streaming service, gets right about the history of this gentleman pirate, Stede Bonnet. Is Stede's fashion documented at all, Terry?
No, it's not. So I think we've got to rely on what we know about fashions for the time, and that may well be some of the creative license that we've seen in the show as such. There were some matchbox covers, etc., that were written or produced, some time ago that tried to capture some of the events that occurred when he was surrendering, that type of thing. But there's no, hard evidence as to his flamboyance in terms of his behaviour nor his dressing as such. The only reference we do get is an account from a Navy captain, I think, who recounts that Stede was seen on the deck of a ship with Blackbeard engaged in a fight, as in they were fighting the Navy ship, and he made the observation that Bonnet was in what he called a morning gown and taking no active part.
Interesting.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's always good when you see a TV show and it actually is based on someone in reality, and you can go back and actually have a look at the story that is behind the show.
I would never have expected there to be this much fact behind Our Flag Means Death. Is this your favourite article that you've written in your academic career so far?
Look, it was a bit of fun, I've got to say. I saw the pitch go out, and I thought, I wonder if anyone's taken it up, and I made contact with the Conversation website that produced it, and no one had. And I thought, this, it almost be a little bit of fun to go and have a look at this. It's not as serious as many of the criminology articles that I write, and it was interesting to go back and try and find the facts about Stede and what happened to him, and see how it related to the show, and just give people a bit of a story on what piracy is. And of course, we still have piracy today. I mean, looking back last year, we had over 100 pirate attacks throughout the world. So it's something that is an ancient issue and also a modern issue.
Yeah. If people look under your byline, Dr. Terry Goldsworthy, I mean, they're not going to find a lot of pop culture references on there. What do you typically write about?
Oh, look, I do a lot of work in the criminal justice field. One of my expertise areas is looking at outlaw motorcycle gangs. Also have an interest in domestic violence, our response to drug crime, and things like that. Women in policing is also something that's taken my interest in the last few years, because we've seen a big push there in policies to try and get more women into policing, and how successful those pushes have been is something I've looked at. So I kind of jump around a little bit, and I think that's, for me, that's good, because I look at issues that I think are topical and that people are interested in, and then try to shine a bit of light on those.
And a lot of significant stuff, but I can see why you might also enjoy the palate cleanser of a little bit of historical piracy.
Yeah, look, it was good. It was, it wasn't, as I said, it wasn't that serious nature where you're proposing something controversial, perhaps, or whatever. And, there was a fair bit of interest in it. The readership was quite good, and people obviously like to find out the backstory on shows that they watch on TV.
I loved it. Thank you. Dr. Terry Goldsworthy, Associate Professor of Criminology in the Faculty of Society and Design at Bond University. And you can read his piece on the Conversation online, conversation.com, And it's gentlemen pirates, shipwrecks, and Stede Bonnet, what our flag means death gets right about the golden age of piracy.
The morning's